Hey Threadheads, Darren here. Welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying Pat Dorsey's Mercury Blood Midge. This is a fairly straightforward and simple pattern, just a couple materials, but it's a really effective fly for fishing both still waters and tailwaters and rivers. So it's a great fly to tie on post spawn, either in the spring or in the fall, depending on if you're targeting rainbows or browns. And one change that I've made to this is I'm actually going to be adding a UV resin coat on top of the thread body just to help kind of give your truer sense of the end color. So once this fly gets wet without the coating, thread will naturally darken. So we've just gone ahead and kind of done this ahead of time with the UV coating. But it's a pretty straightforward pattern. Don't forget to leave a comment below to get entered into the next draw. Let's have a look at the material list and get started. Okay, let's get a fresh hook in the vise. So today we're going to be using a Firehole stick, model number 633 in a size 18. You can also use something like a TMC 200R with the curved shank, or more traditional TMC 101 with a straight eye, something to that effect. So I've got a glass bead already placed on the hook, and I believe this is either a 10-aught or an 11-aught seed bead. And we're going to be using some 70D ultra thread in red. So we'll start off with a tying in right behind the bead, and we'll just trim the tag end of the thread. Next we're going to grab a piece of Ultrawire. We're going to be using gold in a small for the size 18 fly. Just grab a length of that, and then we're going to tie that in along the side of the shank. And what we want to do is we want to use touching turns of thread down to the bend of the hook, and then we're going to cover that back up on our way up to behind the bead. If you want to add a touch of a taper in there, you're welcome to. You just want to make sure that you've got the wire completely covered, and the only thing that we've got is the red thread body. We're going to go ahead and rib that with our gold wire just to provide a little bit of segmentation to this bloodworm, and then we'll catch that right behind the bead. And I like to make sure that I go on both sides of the wire, where I go in front and in back, and that really locks that wire in place. Then we'll just pull it tight and give it a couple wiggles, and that should trim the wire off with flush edge against the thread. So we're going to take a little bit of UV resin, and we're just going to give that a light coating. This will add a little bit of durability to the fly, but it will, as you can see, it also darkens the fly a little bit. So one thing that I like about this is how it's going to look when it gets wet, rather than a brighter shade, and then when it actually gets wet it's going to darken. So that's one advantage I think you have over fortifying the bodies in that way. And just go ahead and cure that. Next we're going to take a Peacock herl, and we're going to take that directly off an eye, and we're going to tie this in by the butt. I'm just going to trim off the little bit at the base there, and we'll tie that in with a couple wraps of thread. We don't want to go too far back. And then we're going to take several wraps of the Peacock herl. Maybe 3 or 4 is probably good. And then we're going to tie that off right behind the bead as close as we can. Want to try and avoid having the red thread show as much as possible. Trim off the excess. So one thing I like to do is just add a little bit of head cement on the thread before I do my whip finish. So go ahead and do that. Sometimes you can see it bead up a little bit, but you just want to make sure that the thread absorbs a little bit of that head cement, and that'll just kind of ensure that your thread gets locked in place, and then you don't have to go afterwards and add a dab of glue. We'll add a quick whip finish. One other thing you could do if you wanted to hide that a little bit better is just take a Sharpie, and like a black Sharpie, and just color that thread right before you do your final whip finish. Hey fly tyers, thanks for stopping by and checking out my fly tying videos. If you enjoyed the video and want to show your support, hit the thumbs up and share it to your social networks. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, be sure to hit the bell icon to get notifications on my latest fly patterns, tips, and reviews. If you have a question or comment, leave a message below. You'll also be entered into the next draw for some of the flies I tie and a few stickers. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.